Hello, I'm Ann Parker. I teach quick sketching at Design Institute of San Diego. Today we're going to review how to do the visualization process using one-point perspective, one-point perspective thumbnails, and how to evolve that into a one-point perspective space. So we're going to use this 12-inch flimsy trace, and just any kind of pen will do. Usually I like to use two colors. All right, so when we do perspective, we're organizing the information around our eye level, which is called the horizon line, and that's going to be this blue line on the paper. So you see you have this horizontal line that represents your eye level. Okay? Normally when we have one point, we'll just have a single vanishing point on that eye level. Okay? And if I ask you to draw a one-point room, typically what would happen is people would just draw a rectangle around that. So this would be the back wall of your room. And then you would connect from that vanishing point to bring out your converging lines to create the left wall and the right wall. So here would be your floor, here's your right wall, here's the ceiling, here's the left wall. You could take further lines out from that vanishing point to start to lay in things like a window, for example, or you could use these lines to start to block in where you might be placing furniture in the room. And these would be what we call your perspective footprints. So this is the amount of area a piece of furniture would take up on the floor of the room in perspective. So why they're called a thumbnail, if you'll notice, this is a very small sketch, only a few inches by a few inches. The reason we're keeping them small is that we don't want to focus on detail at this point. We're just trying to get the big idea. A conceptual thumbnail doesn't even have to be in perspective. It could be something like where I'm just free sketching and starting to come up with shapes of something and just allowing my mind to stay very fluid and loose. And for a chair, for example, I could just do a scribble that I'm going to have a chair here and a table, and I'm going to have, an opening to another room here, and it would just be very loose like that. What we want to do is take that idea of that conceptual thumbnail, and now we're refining it a little bit more into a compositional thumbnail in perspective. So what we're doing is we're laying in these perspective footprints, and it's still allowing my mind to stay loose in what I'm thinking about. So I can start to conceptualize heights and say, okay, if here's the height of my sofa here, I'm going to remembering that in one point, all lines that are parallel to the back wall are staying horizontal. So you can see how the sides of the seat of the sofa are horizontal, the back staying vertical, and anything parallel to the sidewall is converging to this vanishing point, okay? And then as we bring up the table from the sofa, we can do the same thing. The seat will be the same height as the table. You can see I have the footprint here, and I'm going to start to rough out where I might put the table in the room. And let's say I have another seating group over here. So in this case, I have, let's say, a couple chairs. Same thing, I'm going to bring in those perspective footprints to start to conceptualize, what type of chair I might have and what kind of piece of furniture I might have here. So that's just like your basic box room. But another way of doing those thumbnails would be to keep your mind a little bit more fluid by putting your horizon line on first, adding a point that is your vanishing point, and start just raying a bunch of different lines out from that point. So remember, with one-point perspective, it's like this big starburst of converging lines emerging from that vanishing point. And the room is being created by these horizontal planes that are coming in front of that. So for example, then I could put a floor in here, perhaps a step up for a cabinet, and then another step here for a soffit over the cabinet, and a pitched roof. And now I can start to create the room by bringing converging lines out. Every place this line changes direction. So for example, notice how the line changes from a vertical to a horizontal. At that intersection, I'm bringing a line out from my vanishing point. Here it's changing from a horizontal to a vertical. So at that intersection, I bring the line out from the vanishing point. Same thing here, it's changing from vertical back to horizontal. I bring the line out from the point, and so forth. So now you can start to see, like, here's a built-in, right? As I continue around the room and do that same thing, now this would be a soffited area where maybe I could put some lighting over the built-in. And then now if I bring this line up, I've got an angled roof where the lines are pitching both directions. And now as I start to look at this room, I can start to think about proportion. So if this line here is representing my eye height in the room, I have to decide, am I having my viewer seated in the room? Then if so, that could be maybe a 3-foot eye height, meaning there would be 3 feet of space from the floor to the viewer's eye. Or I could have it be, let's say, a standing height horizon line, which would then make it 5 feet in the room. So if this is 5 feet, for example, that would make this ceiling height up to 11 feet. If this were 3 feet, that ceiling height then would only be 7 feet. So you see how that works, where you have the proportion of your eye height to the floor will help you get the proportion of the rest of the space. So let's keep it at 5 feet. So that would be, if a person here standing in the room, that's their standing height eye level. And now we're going to bring more detail out from that eye level. So for example, if I wanted to have furniture over here, I could make a mark, let's say about 3 feet up the corner, and I'm going to extend a line from my vanishing point through that mark, and that'll show me how tall 3 feet would be over on this side wall. So then if I bring my 5 feet this way, so for example, let me use another color here. If from here to here is representing 5 feet, if I use that same vertical horizontal, then this would be 5 feet. And then I could keep doing that. Here's another 5 feet. Here's another 5 feet. And that would help me figure out how big to make things in relation to the back wall. Okay, so if I have a mark here that's representing 3 feet, and I want that sofa to be 3 feet tall and 3 feet deep, then I can connect from the vanishing point through that 3-foot mark, and that'll show me how deep to make that footprint. Remember again the rules of 1 point. You have all 3 kinds of lines. Anything parallel to your eyes and to the back wall are going to stay horizontal. Anything parallel to the side walls are going to be converging to your vanishing point, and we're going to keep our verticals vertical for this interior sketch. All right, so now that we have our footprints, we're going to now build a box that will help us create the furniture. So remember how I said that this was going to be 3 feet from here to here. So I'm going to go a little above that to be 18-inch seat height. I'm going to come from the vanishing point, so that shows you how tall to make the seat. And now I'm going to follow my footprint. That is an important rule with perspective. If you follow the footprint, then usually you can create the box easily. So that means that if this line's horizontal, the line above it is horizontal. If this line's horizontal, the line above it will be horizontal. I'm following that footprint to form the box of the furniture. So this would be the boxed in sofa, okay? And then if I again bring these lines out from that, I'm going to be able to use that 5-foot mark on the back wall to proportion how big I want to make the table, for example. There's the footprint for that, or additional furniture in the room. I can also footprint out things or rough in things like the architectural elements, like the windows. So if I have a window here over this cabinet, right? And you might, since it's a thumbnail, you can add lines that just help your mind understand what it is you're looking at. Or let's say you have artwork on this wall. Another important thing to consider when you're doing these conceptual thumbnails is what's going to be your focal point. So notice with the 1 point, you have all these converging lines saying, look here, they're all converging to this vanishing point. And right now I really don't have anything on that wall. So what happens is the viewer gets a little bit disappointed subconsciously because all of these lines are leading their eye to this, and if there's nothing interesting to look at there, you might want to consider what in your design might need to be on that focal point. It could be a texture, it could be a color, it could be a detail like another door, a light fixture, an art piece. In this case, let's just do something simple like an art piece on the wall, okay? Also, if sometimes people have a hard time because they want to go through that back wall. They see all these converging lines and it makes their eyes zoom through the wall. So what you might want to do also is just take a marker at this point and just go ahead and give the back wall some value so that you can see it clearly away from those converging lines. So we're just going to go ahead and pop that in there, and hopefully that helps you see the room a little clearer. Okay, so this would be an example of a conceptual 1-point thumbnail. And now we're going to take that, and we would want to do several of these so that we could decide the best design of the room, the best point of view. Another way you can thumbnail is in plan view. So let's say if I have my floor plan here, and I've already decided I'm having a soffit with a cabinet and a window over here, and perhaps in the plan view I've got the sofa here with the table, and there's maybe some art over it, and I'm going to have an art piece over here, right? I can think, well, what else would I want in this room? Do I want an element in the corner? Do I want a rug in plan view? So in other words, you can also do these conceptual thumbnails in plan view so that then you can translate the perspective view with the floor plan. Meaning you can also decide what's going to be your best point of view. So for example, if I have my sofa here and I want to show the client the best view of the room, would I want to be standing here with the sofa coming right at me like a freight train? Would I want to stand here more in the center of the room, or do I want to stand here with this cabinet coming right at me like a freight train? So in this case, it's probably best to stand more, have your vanishing point somewhere more in the middle of the room. Occasionally, it might be more advantageous to have it off to one side so that maybe you want to see this corner more clearly than these elements that the client perhaps already knows. You know, let's say it's their art collection. They already know what it looks like, so they don't really need to see that wall as clearly as these two new walls where you're designing custom cabinetry. Okay, so you can figure out your best point of view with your plan view first, and then start to thumbnail it so that you can come up with the best view for your client. We are so lucky that we get this chance to explore our creativity. These one-point thumbnails, the more you do them, the stronger your visualization skills are going to get, and the more fun you'll have as you start to evolve them out into a finished sketch. But the main thing is just practice, practice, and keep having fun with it. Thank you.